Hey guys, I'm Randy.
And I'm Daniel.
We're two lifelong friends and musicians, but when we're not playing gigs, we like to talk games.
And today on the Gaming Gig Podcast, we're discussing Dragon Age The Veilguard, the new Nintendo Music app, and answering the age-old question, should libraries be able to provide access to out-of-print video games?
Welcome in if you're new around here. Welcome to the Gaming Gig Podcast. We are a viewer-driven podcast. We read and react to your comments. We're starting things off today with a conversation about Dragon Age The Veilguard. This has been pretty much the game that I have been, I want to say, obsessed with this week. Not because I'm playing it, but just the drama, just everything surrounding this game. It has been, it kind of reminds me of back when we were having the Johnny Depp trials. It's like that, but in video game form. I just love this.
So I did not follow this all week. I was doing nothing except working, playing Pokemon TCG, and I think I also, towards the end of the week, started playing Deep Rock Survivor. So I've been under a rock. I knew the game came out. That's about all I knew. I looked into this controversy before the podcast. Okay, so
yeah,
I kind of took a short crash course, and I really don't understand it at all. And I also now, based on your review of the whole situation, I'm curious where did the poop come from? You know, where's the poop, Grandpa?
It's kind of like, you know, and we'll get into it in some comments here, but this has been years in the making. Like, it's been a decade in the making. It's been like 10 years since we got the last Dragon Age game.
Right.
And in that time, you know, BioWare, the developer, has put out, let's just be honest, a couple stinkers.
Okay.
You know?
Lay them on me.
And so we had...
Lay your stinkers upon me.
Now, I know that you have some skin in the game in terms of you like BioWare. You like Mass Effect.
I do.
Now, did you play Mass Effect Andromeda? I'm going to guess probably not, right?
And I've been told that was a good decision.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so that's one of the things. And of course you know about this little game called Anthem, right?
You know, I seem to recall that it came and went.
Right. So BioWare has just not had the best track record
the Johnny Depp
over the best. True. They've not had the best track record over the past decade. And Dragon Age The Veilguard has been kind of hyped up for kind of like years now as being BioWare's return. Like, this is going to be their big moment. Right. This is the game where they come back and they're going to deliver this epic RPG. They were hyping it up to sort of be like, almost like Baldur's Gate 3 level, like huge, like it's going to be this big giant RPG where they come back and make a name for themselves. And this is the game that's going to do it for them.
Well, I can tell you, if you're building up BG3 level hype for your game, you are setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah, but there are a lot of parallels to this game in BG3. So that's the overarching like narrative that brought us to this moment of like Dragon Age The Veilguard being like such an important game for BioWare. People who were not only fans of past Dragon Age games, but also people who just wanted BioWare to come back because they were huge fans of Mass Effect. Of course, after Dragon Age The Veilguard, apparently a new Mass Effect is also coming. So Veilguard is kind of like, it's kind of like heralding the return of BioWare. And now that's where it gets interesting. Because
now they've returned and some people don't like what they see.
Exactly. They're here. And it's crazy how mixed the results have been. And I don't know what it is, but I love video games that come out and they're just like totally divisive. And that is what we've seen with the Veilguard. And there are a lot of things. And we'll get into the specifics as we go.
Yeah, okay. Well, that explains why I had a little bit of a tough time really nailing down what the controversy was over. Because there are definitely people on both sides. So...
Yes.
It is definitely not a one-sided affair. Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, Randy, we have a poll here. Are you ready to move on to the poll? Or is there more prologue to the story?
No, I think this is perfect time for the poll.
Okay, well, we asked the Gaming Geek Faithful, we said, are you playing Dragon Age The Veilguard And at 8%, people said yes. At 15%, people said no, but I plan on it eventually. 14% said no, and I'm not sure that I will. And a whopping 63% said, hell no, I am not interested in Dragon Age the Veilguard.
Yeah. And we've got a live comment here on Twitch asking if either of us have played it. No, neither
Nope.
of us have played it. And I'll kind of go into it. So, like, one, I actually did get sort of hyped about Veilguard. This was back during the sort of run up to it when they were promoting it. There was a great article back in now the magazine that is now gone, Game Informer. There was a great article about Dragon Age the Veilguard. It actually got me really excited about it. It seemed like the previews that a lot of influencers got to play was very positive. The combat system was, praised as being very fun. And then I was like, well, I'll just, wait until the game comes out and reviews come out. And a lot of the people who I really respect their opinion on video games, the reviews were quite negative. But at the same time, there were a lot of positive reviews. So it's really, really weird.
Yeah, that's what I saw, during my brief research. I also, maybe unlike you, I really haven't been hopping up this game at all. I did play Dragon Age. I think we decided it was Inquisition back in the day.
Yeah, I think me and you both dabbled in Inquisition and decided that game just wasn't for us.
Yeah, I played quite a bit of it, and I remember I ran into a really big difficulty spike. I couldn't get past it. I got frustrated, so I stopped. But I did play the entirety of the Mass Effect trilogy and loved it. So if this was a new Mass Effect game, I remember, how Andromeda was received. So I skipped that one, but I would be way more excited and way more interested in a Mass Effect than I am, this game. But it is interesting that it seems to be so divisive. I'm still not sure really that I understand why, though, if I'm being honest.
Well, there's a lot of things. I mean, like we have a one, before we move on to the comments, I do want to point out that we have here a pretty big portion of people saying they're not interested in this game.
Yeah.
You add together the two bottom no's, you're talking almost 80% of people, say that they're probably not going to play this game.
Right.
That is not a good number for a game from a developer that is as prestigious as BioWare, from an IP like Dragon Age, which, okay, Dragon Age isn't the biggest IP in the entire world, but it ain't no dinky IP. This is a pretty well-known IP. I would say that,
Not
we
dinky
compare
at all.
it, compare it to something like Baldur's Gate. I would say that before Baldur's Gate 3, Dragon Age has a bigger presence than something like Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate before Baldur's Gate 3 is what I'm saying. Now
Yes.
that we had
What you're
Baldur's Gate 3, those things have changed.
Right. You're saying as an IP, Dragon Age would have seemed bigger pre-Baldur's Gate 3, and I completely agree with that.
Yes. And they're trying to sell it as something like a Baldur's Gate 3 like experience. But if you go, I went on Steam this morning just to see like what the Steam numbers were, and there are more people playing Baldur's Gate 3 right now than there are playing Dragon Age the Veilguard, even though this game just came out.
That's both crazy and also a testament to BG3.
Yeah.
That's crazy
True.
on two fronts, but
You got any guesses of what the all-time peak numbers were for Dragon Age the Veilguard on Steam?
oh, not really. I don't know. 50,000.
Close. It's like 80 something thousand.
Okay.
So you're really close. So like I think that you could look at that number and you could say that's pretty good. Like I don't think that number is terrible.
Right.
But I think for something as big as Dragon Age, you look at something like, I mean, I hate to compare it to Baldur's Gate 3, but Baldur's Gate 3 had an all-time Steam peak of like 800,000. Like it was 10 times
Right.
what Dragon Age the Veilguard is.
Right.
So these aren't stellar numbers, even though they're bragging about it being a big launch for them. I'm sure it is a big launch on Steam for them, but I don't think it's enough. And it seems like these numbers have dropped off really quickly. like we have this comment here, this first comment from BB Thumb, who says Dragon Age is a sad, sad fall from grace. And, I think one of the big problems people have with this game is that it all comes down to what you want out of a video game, which, I mean, obviously, but the thing about this particular Dragon Age game is that it is almost entirely divorced from what Dragon Age games have been in the past. About this game's art style being completely different, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, it looks like it's almost like Pixar-ified. Like it's way cutesier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that particular change isn't just in the way that the character models look. They basically also kind of made the entire theming much more set for younger, almost like children audiences. Like everything's super light. Mm-hmm. There's none of the darkness, and like you really can't make any decisions and just be like a bad person like you can make some horrible decisions in Baldur's Gate 3,
Oh yeah.
And in past Dragon Age games, and in like Mass Effect. From what I understand, those games you really have decisions that you get to make that have implications.
Definitely.
And they can be negative. And it doesn't
Absolutely.
seem like that is the way it is here. It seems like it's just mostly positive stuff that you can do.
Yeah, in Mass Effect, you can do everything from lay with your shipmates in the biblical sense, all the way to like literally committing like accidental genocide, like against a whole planet. Like that game is crazy.
Yeah, I think that's what people loved about BioWare. And it seems like the Veilguard is just sort of like, it's almost like it's, I guess, watered down in a way, from what I can tell. It just doesn't offer anything that's like real decisions. Like you have decisions, but they're like decisions that don't matter.
Right.
Like there are plenty of games. Like one that comes to my mind where you make decisions, but they don't really matter. Like they might superficially matter, but they don't really. It's something like Horizon Zero Dawn, Horizon Forbidden West. Like throughout the game, you might make decisions, and they might change something about the game, but they really don't. It's like an illusion of a choice. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, Fallout 76 or not 76. Fallout 4 taught me well about the illusion of choice.
Yeah, great example.
It's a great game if you want to say yes or no in about 3 different ways.
Yeah, and like
Actually,
no matter what,
that's not true. You can say no. Well, yeah, that's about true. You just eventually have to pick a way of saying yes if you want to progress.
Yeah, and you can say it like in 3 different flavors, but you're still they bring you to the same place no matter what.
Definitely.
Yeah, and so I think that's a big part of the hate against Veilguard, but it's so weird because a lot of reviews for Veilguard were quite positive. A lot of people really like this game and still do like this game, but it does seem like the critics were much more positive about it than the players are. I think the critic reviews ended up being like mid 80s, which is really a good score. Like a mid 80s is a very good critic score. The player score is more like mid 70s, which is still okay, not bad.
Right. Okay.
But there seems to be a lot of divisiveness.
Well, we do have a comment here that's maybe not backpedaling, but pulling back on a little bit of the hate here. From Celeria Rose, who said, the hate against it is massively overblown. I'm not saying it looks like a game of the year or some astounding hit, but from what they have shown, it looks like it could be an enjoyable enough time. And that's kind of what I would assume based on the, maybe hour now that I've lived with the idea of the game being controversial. Seems like
and I think that
people say good and bad, so it must be middle of the road.
Yeah, it's just like, I think it all depends on.
Oh, that's not good. We lost Randy. I think Randy's internet just cut out, guys. He'll be back here in a second.
Hey, sorry about that.
Randy, what happened?
I lost internet. My internet just cut out and it was gone.
That's weird that you lost it and I didn't.
I know, so strange, but it's back now. I do apologize about that. Did you keep things going while I was gone?
I did, but I also wasn't sure you were going to get internet back, so I did make some comments about how Randy's probably going to edit this part out.
Well,
I
back.
considered going on to the next comment and just like show must go on, but
Show must go on.
I
Yeah.
thought you might not be able to get your internet back. So I did
Yeah.
eventually. I just started talking to Plague Doctor.
I would have loved to have seen you just continue on, but that would have been great.
That would have been
All right.
that would have been super weird if one of us just cuts out and they never come back, and the other one. What if I just didn't acknowledge it at all? What if I just kept going, went to the next comment, just kept going, never acknowledged you were gone? Now that'd be a moment.
Well, I guess we can move on to the next comment here.
Yeah, Celeria Rose, sorry that your comment, maybe you didn't get the full gaming gig treatment, but you know what? You got a moment. You got like a genuine
You did.
podcast
You got
moment.
a moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's hit us with the next comment here, Gampaw, from Mari Moat.
Mari Moat, yeah, who says, the only thing that doesn't make me want to play it is the new art style they chose for the game. And this is probably the thing that the entire time that this game has been promoted and now that it's out, people just hate the way the character models look.
Yeah. And I don't hate them. I think they look kind of cool, but apparently it's quite a departure from what they've done in the past, and I think people don't love that.
Yeah, it's very much a departure, and it's so weird. It's like, it had people asking, they were like, are you guys going to do this to Mass Effect? Are you going to Pixarify Mass Effect? And they had to respond. They had to be like, no, don't worry. Mass Effect won't have an art style like this. It will continue like a realistic, a photorealistic look about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but this is definitely a thing. I mean, there are other things too. Things that, like, there are always controversies that pop up. There are controversies that I'm not interested in talking about. I like the game side of stuff. I'm not interested in the political side of things. So, like, those things I don't care about. I'm not interested in it. I think those kind of things come and go. They just are what they are.
Right. Yeah. I read a little bit about that as well, but I also don't really feel qualified to throw that into the podcast. So let's talk about the game.
I'm sure that's been part of it, but it really hasn't been a big part of what has been the overarching divisiveness. Like there are things like that pop up in lots of games, and it's the people who are really, really like either like turned off or like by stuff like that. It's a pretty small section of people. Generally, there are other problems or other things that people like about it. It seems like that for this game in particular, the whole time I've been looking into it, I just think like, it just sounds like if you want to play this game, why wouldn't you just play Baldur's Gate 3? Besides the combat being different, that's really the big differences between them.
Yeah, I do kind of agree. Watching the trailers for this game, it just kind of made me think like, I never finished BG3.
I mean, Baldur's Gate 3 has turn-based combat, which is not honestly, I'd probably like the combat in Veilguard more. It looks fun. Apparently, it is very fun until you realize that, like, you have to spend like 50, 60 hours with it, and by like hour 10 or 20, you're already tired of it. It just doesn't have a whole lot of depth and gets very repetitive. So that's the only problem. Is like, but it looks fun. It's very action oriented, and I like games that have that. It's kind of like the same problem we had with Final Fantasy 16 with people, wanting something different from that. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you ready to move on, Randy?
Yeah. Before we do move on, I just want to say I'm interested to see what happens with Veilguard, and I'm just interested. We'll keep you guys updated if anything crazy happens in the future. But before we move on to our next topic, Daniel, you gonna let people know about our Twitch thing here?
Why did you just introduce my transition? My transition
Because I wanted. Because honestly, I thought it was gonna be my transition, and then I read
sleepy,
Daniel.
That's why. Because he's sleepy.
It's because I read Daniel.
Well, you can do it, man. We can trade if you want to. But he just took him a big sip of water.
Let's trade. Let's trade.
Go
I
for it.
took a tiny sip of water. All right, y'all. For those of you who are watching right now live on Twitch, you know that we do stuff on Twitch. But if you're watching on YouTube or if you're listening to this podcast on like Spotify or Apple Podcasts or something, We want to let you guys know we do stream on Twitch, and we do it very frequently. It's always at 8 p.m. Eastern, not every day of the week, but most days of the week. We generally take Wednesdays off, as well as Fridays and Saturdays. But other than that, 8 p.m. Eastern, we're here. And on Sundays, that's when we do the podcast. So just look for Game and Gig. It's all Game and Gig, all one word, all words, on Twitch. There's probably a link in the description of this podcast too. That's probably the easiest thing to do.
You know, I kept
Come hang out
thinking,
with
I
us.
kept thinking you were going to list off the days we stream, and I was going to count them with you on camera. But you just like went around the world, and you were like, you named the days we don't stream, and you were like, we're live every other day.
Yeah. I took an opposite approach than what you're expecting. Look, man, you can't tie me down. You can't plan on what I'm going to do. You think I'm going to go left? I'm going right.
Well, I think that's a hell of a segue, Randy, because I'll tell you who goes left when you think they're going right, and that is Nintendo. Because we finally got the big reveal that we've all been looking for, okay? And I'm here to say it. I'll say it, okay? I'll say it. Are you ready for me to say it, Randy? I'm going to say
ready.
it. Switch to be damned. We have the Nintendo Music app.
So weird, man. We are living in the weirdest timeline. Like we want more than Switch 2 news. And first we get an alarm clock. The next thing we get is a music app. And it's like, what is happening now with Nintendo? That being said, I do love this app.
I was going to say the weirdest part of this whole story is that the app is a freaking banger of an app. Like, I love this app.
It
I
is good.
unironically love it.
I do love it too, but it's like I also recognize that it could be so much better.
Definitely.
And we do have some comments about
gonna
that,
talk
and
about
we will get to that because it's not perfect. It really is. In fact, I'd say it's far from perfect. I just love
course.
Nintendo. So like my gut reaction is like, "Oh, I do love this. And I have been using it a lot this week.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have some opinions about this. We're going to talk about it during, through the comments. And I agree with you. It can be a lot better. But I also just want to, tease the idea of saying that I think this app does a lot of things way better than the music would be presented to us on other platforms. I think it just does some really cool stuff. I'll say that. So
It does.
we have a poll here, Randy. We asked the Gaming Gig faithful. We said, have y'all downloaded and tried this app yet? Randy, hit us.
Yeah, 17% of people said yes. 9% of people said no, but I plan on it. 15% of people say no, they want to, but they can't because they don't have Nintendo Switch Online. And then 58% of people say they're not interested in an app that's just all about Nintendo music, which I'm like, you guys are crazy. Nintendo music has the best music.
Y'all, 58%, you're wrong on this one. I'm telling you. I understand that it seems like you would be right. I am quite the contrarian. There is a universe in which I'm amongst you, but it is not this one. This app is awesome. Okay? I'm just going to say the best thing it does is the way you can sort the music. You can sort the music
All
in a bunch
kinds
of
of
different
ways,
ways. By game, by character, by platform. And then not only that, but not even just a few tracks. Most of the tracks that I feel like I run across, you can extend them up to like an hour. So if you if you want to vibe to that freaking Wii eShop music, you can do it for an hour. And then God forbid you just put the repeat button on. You're perpetually living in the shop, in the eShop.
Yeah, that's something that I have not extended anything, but I have not just been like, I want to vibe to this. I don't get people who want to do that. I know that there are people out there. I see it on YouTube. I see 10-hour long versions of one song. I don't get you guys. I don't know why you do that. It doesn't make any sense to me, but I'm glad it's there because I know it is something that some people do like.
Yeah. I was posting about it in the Discord yesterday. No, hell, it was just earlier today, wasn't it? Feels like a lifetime ago. This time change kicking my ass. So I was putting the podcast outline together, and I was listening to music in the app, and Lost Woods hit. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, Lost Woods, Ocarina of Time, like what a bop. And then I realized you can extend the Lost Woods for an hour. I would lose my mind. The Lost Woods would have the intended effect on me if it lasted for an hour.
I probably have listened to that an hour playing the game,
Probably.
Probably. Yeah, I mean, like, a lot of people are interested in this, but it didn't hit our 50% threshold of people
No.
interested in it. So it's not that hot. Could do better.
Okay.
And we have a pretty Nintendo centric audience. A lot of the people who watch an Infinite Gaming Gig love Nintendo. So I think these numbers could be better, but still pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. Numbers could be better.
Yep.
So could the app. You ready to hit a comment?
Yeah.
Okay, this first comment comes
Got
to us
one.
from Meme Machine, who said, I'm super happy with this actually. I've always just added music to Spotify using local files, but this is just way better. And way more official. And way less piratey.
Yeah. I mean, like, I do love Nintendo music, but there's been no good way to do it. Like, adding something to Spotify using local files, like, that is something that most people are never going to do.
Right. It's very iTunes.
You know, you can't listen to Nintendo music on any official streaming service. It's just not there. So the only way to do it is to go on YouTube and look for, OSTs of games. And I definitely have done that from time to time. Like sometimes when I'm writing reviews for a game, I'll like want to get in the mood of that game. So I'll go and put on the OST like as I'm working on it. But I think if there was an official way, or what I found is if there is an official way to just like sort through and play things from the games, I put it on when I'm going to do my chores or when I'm walking. I'll just like have Nintendo music because it just puts me in a good mood because it's just like very nostalgic, or it's just good music. Like there is some genuinely fantastic music from Nintendo.
There are. And Randy, can I stop you right there? Because I have a confession I need to make. And I can't let this go on. This is embarrassing because I've been living with this for a long time, and I'm really embarrassed about it, and I'm just going to admit it because I feel like we're all friends here. I only have a loose understanding of what it's referring to, and I don't know what OST means.
It is the original soundtrack or official soundtrack, original soundtrack.
So
original
as it turns out, I knew exactly what it was. I just didn't know what the O meant. Like, because I knew when someone said OST, they're talking about the soundtrack, but I had no idea why they were using that acronym.
Yeah, I think it's original soundtrack.
No God-shattering star on the app, says Plague Doctor. Live comment here on Twitch. I don't know what that is. It's probably a track.
It's probably a track. Before we move into the things that are negative about this, I do want to, because this is our one positive comment here that I pulled. It's our moment to talk positive about the app before we go negative. And
I'm not going negative.
I have some things, but it is very easy to use, and it's made me like, the way you can sort it. You brought up like the different ways of sorting, and being able to sort in so many different ways, but just even being able to pull up a game and just check out its top tracks from that game has been really interesting. And I pretty much have checked out most of the games that are there, which I shouldn't have been able to do because I shouldn't be able to do that in a week. But that just shows how few games there are. But we'll get to that in a minute.
Yes.
But it made me realize like some of the games that I didn't really think of as having such good music is fantastic. Like Kirby Star Allies is on there. And I'm like, why is Kirby Star Allies on there? Then I started listening to the music. And I was like, my God, this music is amazing. No wonder Kirby Star Allies is here.
Right.
It's fantastic.
Of course Star Allies made the cut.
Well, and now that I've listened to it, I'm like, yeah, it is. It's just been so long since I played it. I just had forgotten how good the music was. Or maybe I never really thought about it, but man, it is good.
Okay. Well,
have you had any games that you've jumped into where you're like, this is way better than I thought it was?
Yeah, so I had two kind of moments like that. One, the first song I listened to was from Mario Wonder. I played Mario Wonder, but I forgot how good the music was. So that was kind of a reminder like, oh my God, these are great. Other than that, some games that came up, a game that came up randomly that impressed me was Pikmin. Pikmin has some good music.
I think it's Pikmin 4 that's on there.
Yeah, I think it is.
Pikmin 4 it has some really cool music. There's a lot of weird music in Pikmin 4 too.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. It was very vibey.
But to kind of, go back to what we were saying a second ago, there are very few games that are available right now. Like if that that logo they showed of it, where it showed like, I don't know, it was probably like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games.
Yeah.
Okay, there's more than 7 games, but not a whole lot more right now. It's very, very
Yeah,
limited.
there's more than 7, but is there double? I'm not sure.
Maybe, but it's definitely not a whole lot more than 14 if there's that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
this
that's
next
super
comment
weird.
does kind of address that. So we want to switch over to that.
Yeah, let's
All
do
right,
it.
Randy. Hit us with a comment
Yeah.
from Oligarchies.
Yeah, Oligarchy says, can't stand Nintendo as a company and their Apple-esque business practices. They've notoriously hunted down uploads of their music for years without providing an alternative way of listening. And now, instead of putting their music on streaming services through official channels, they figured they could lock a lackluster catalog behind a paywall, like at least launch with all the music everyone actually wants to listen to instead of trickling it out.
Yeah, so I just want to say, Oligarchies, like I said, sorry, Randy went robo on you there, but I agree with, you said like at least launch with all the music everyone actually wants to listen to. What I would say is, why did they not at least launch with all the games that are on NSO already? If you're going to have to be an NSO subscriber to even use the app, give me the music from the games I already paid to get access to. If it was like 1-to-1, I think that would actually be pretty cool.
Like, there's so many games on NSO, but it would be very vintage focused, wouldn't it?
That's true.
And
it would.
they've kind of gone for a more modern approach for most of the games that are on there. They do have some old games, but very few.
Yeah, they do. They do. And it would be very retro, if they went with a 1-to-1 with NSO. But, they could do 1-to-1 with NSO plus the Switch bangers, which includes most of the Wii U bangers.
Mm-hmm.
So in that case, you'd really only be skipping out on a lot of GameCube and Wii.
I just don't understand why they don't have everything. Like, why are they doing the trickle out thing?
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't make sense to me. It's like, they have all this music, and they could have put out just the app that was completely fully formed day one. I mean, maybe it would have been harder. Maybe it would take longer. Maybe it wouldn't have come out this year. Maybe it would have come out next year.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they could have done it, and it would have been so much. Maybe they're thinking it's overwhelming. I don't know, but it just seems strange.
It does, especially when you can find so many OSTs on your standard streaming services these days. So it is weird that Nintendo finally says, okay, here's our music, and turns out it's not even close to all their music.
Yeah. And then on top of that, it's not just a trickle out model. It's a paywall. You have to have Nintendo Switch Online to access this app. And I mean, yeah, it's just kind of an extra thing. Are they thinking that people are going to pay for NSO just to have this?
I don't think so. I think they are looking at it as an added bonus for people who already do. I don't see them thinking this is going to move the needle, on NSO subscriptions. But I mean, I could be wrong. But it's too small, of a launch for them to actually be thinking that, I think.
Yeah. We got a live comment here from Plague Doctor who says they do the trickle out model because it helps build the hype. At least they think it would. Each game soundtrack on there seems more meaningful when they come out one at a time. And honestly, it probably is better that way, but it just kind of sucks at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, this reminds me of when NSO first launched, and we had very few games, and all of us were like, okay, this is really the best you can do. Where's the virtual console? This is not even close, And now we have sung the praises of how good NSO is as a nice, like, ROM curation machine, essentially, more than once, on the podcast. So there could be a future where we do the same thing about the music app. But I agree. It's an underwhelming launch.
And I'm sure they want to do the thing where, like, every time they have a Nintendo Direct or a Mini, or just randomly when they're wanting to get back in the news, they post, hey, these soundtracks are coming to the Nintendo Music app. And people will cover it on podcasts. People will talk about it for years instead of it all just being 1 week and then it's gone and people forget about it.
Facts.
That's probably just the truth of it.
Yeah, that's probably exactly what they're thinking. Because
And that's how we end up with something like Breath of the Wild, but no Tears of the Kingdom soundtrack. Like, what's going on there?
It's ridiculous. But at least you can listen to a playlist of all of KK Slider's performances from the new Harvest Moon game.
Harvest Moon.
Oh, shit. Sorry. Animal Crossing. That was an actual mistake.
That was an actual mistake. I mean, like, you're not wrong. Harvest Moon, and Animal Crossing, they got more in common than they don't,
Definitely. They definitely do. All right, we got another comment here, Randy. You ready for it?
Yeah.
This one is, I'm not sure who it's from, but it's not Cookie, who says, no old Pokemon games, no Smash Bros. And
right?
Not Cookie's got a point. I mean, Pokemon, I'd extend that Poke Center song. You know what I'm saying? 60 minutes in the Poke Center? Sign me up, baby.
Yeah. Pokemon, it has some iconic music. I think of back from Gen 1, back when you're exploring that haunted tower. Oh my gosh, that theme song was creepy. I don't know that I really want to listen to it for an hour, but
what if you could just queue up
and just over and over
and just loop that shit for an hour?
You can. I'm sure you could. And it is weird. There's no Pokemon.
Yeah.
No Smash Bros. And this is something that originally I was like, wait, is it most Smash Bros. Games? Don't they just use the soundtracks from other games? But then I realized no, wait.
Yeah.
There's original songs in there too. I'm like,
yeah,
gotta have those too.
Oh man, I hadn't even thought about.
Yeah,
that'd be okay. I would never listen to that because I've heard it.
I would never, honestly,
for about 1,000 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
But it is a good one. It's
a great one. It needs to be there.
It does.
It needs to be there.
I agree.
It'll come eventually. I'm sure that these things will trickle out, and then we'll get to talk about them. We'll be like, oh, did you listen? And I do think that as much as I hate that it's better, I wish we just had a fully formed, everything was there. Because I think that would genuinely be a better app.
It would.
I think the trickle out is probably better for a consumer in that you get to kind of enjoy it slowly over time because you don't have the problem of being I just can't decide. There's just way too much, just kind of back away from it. And that's what it would be if they put everything there.
It is. It definitely is. But I am enjoying it, and I look forward to seeing what they add, honestly. So
yeah,
that's kind of where I land on it. I moved it from it has a place on my phone. It's got a spot.
Oh, nice.
So
do you want to know my biggest problem with the app? Genuinely, my biggest problem with the app.
Yes.
Is that you can sort it. You can sort the music a million different ways. You cannot sort. In fact, you can't even see who the composers are, which is just ridiculous. You can't find out the artist information, who wrote the song. Well, the app does not tell you. It won't tell you. You can't be what if you found a song, you're like, I want to listen to other music by whoever wrote this.
Right.
Sorry, you ain't doing that. You can sort by Bowser though, but you can't sort by your favorite composer.
You're right. That would be a really good addition. You're right.
They need to, honestly. I think it's. This reminds me so much of stuff that Nintendo does, where they'll not credit people in the credits of their games who worked on they did this with the remakes
with the Metroid
games.
Remakes.
They don't credit they didn't credit the original people. It just feels kind of like that. It's guys, credit the composers. The people listening want that because they want to be able to actually go by that, but they also want the composers to have the credit, because they're the people who wrote these songs.
Yep, I completely agree with that. Okay, I flip-flopped. This app sucks.
I just know
it no longer has a place on my phone. No, I'm just joking, but I completely agree with you about the composers. That they should 100% add that.
I assume that they will do that because I think that is something that maybe they could have potentially just overlooked and thought they were really game focused, very character focused. But still, that just feels kind of disrespectful.
It does. I agree.
Yeah.
All right, Randy.
Still love you, Nintendo. You just need to fix it.
They need to fix a lot of things, bro. They need to fix a whole hell of a lot of things. So, Randy, the fun ain't over here on the G&G podcast. We do have a whole other topic for you. But even after that topic is over, Randy, guess what?
What's
The
that?
fun still ain't over, because the fun never stops over on the Game and Gig Discord server. Okay? So the Game and Gig Discord server is a super inviting, friendly place where we can discuss games. We post, Randy posts like Wordle scores over there every day.
I'm the only one that does it.
He's the only one that does it. He's the
But
only
I
one
keep
that
it
can
alive.
read.
Yep.
But you know, the rest of us enjoy chatting games. So it's a really cool place. There's a join link in the description of this podcast, and we'd love to have you.
Love for you guys to come hang out with us. If you have a Discord, you're probably not using it, right? Well, get some use out of it. Come hang out with us.
That's right. Randy, we got one more topic for the people though, and it's really life or death, if I'm being honest. And by life or death, I mean it's about game preservation, which is something we should all care about.
I think so. And there's like, obviously, the conversation around game preservation has really kind of become more prominent recently with the realization that these games, they don't last forever.
Right.
Especially digital games. You don't really even own them. And some games are just getting taken away from us because they're always online. And when the servers go down, the games go down and they're just gone. And it's a real big problem. And it's just bringing the conversation of how are we going to preserve, how are we going to be playing these games in the future? And there was recently, it was through the Gaming History Foundation. I may be getting that wrong. But they basically asked for there to be an exception to the copyright rule that would allow libraries and archives to be able to provide access to out-of-print games. Here's the thing, not physically, but digitally. And that's where the sticking point is, because libraries right now, you can go to a library. Some libraries have video games. You can go check them out and bring them home and play them. Mm-hmm. This would be digital access, which that's where it gets a little weird.
Right. You know, we have often prophesized doom and gloom on this show about the all digital future. But maybe this is a case where digital could be a good guy, you know, because we don't want these games to go away. You know, on your screen right now, you've got a hodgepodge of all sorts of instant classics. You know, not only do you have an XCOM, but you got Spelunky and Sonic CD, you know, and I don't want to live in a world where I can't play Sonic CD digitally. And neither should you. You know, and your library is a lot more high tech than you realize. That's what I've heard. I haven't been personally.
Have you tried any of this? Like, so some libraries offer you the option to check out books digitally. And I've done this. And basically, you check out a book and it gives you access to it for a set number of time. And then you lose access to it.
That's
you
awesome.
don't have it forever. You can't download it or anything. You just have like the ability to access it on your computer for a certain amount of time. Mm-hmm. And then it's just like a regular rental. That's essentially what they're asking these libraries to be able to do for video games.
Yeah.
You could rent one and play it digitally.
I mean, that would be great. I can see that as a great resource for people. You know, I already think my local library is a lot better resource than I give it credit for. So literally every time somebody tells me something about the library in the modern day, I'm like, holy crap, I need to go to the library, and I just haven't gone.
Yeah.
So if they do this, I'm going.
Well, unfortunately, this did get shot down.
Great.
So it doesn't look like it's going to happen. I'm sure it will come up again, but right now, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to access our games, you know, digitally through libraries and stuff, which is a shame. But that brings up the question, should we be allowed to, you know? We're not allowed to, but should we be allowed to? We did put out a poll, and 96% of people said yes, we should be allowed to, and only 4% of people said no.
Right. So the people have spoken. Let's make it happen. What do we need to do? Can we start like a change.org or whatever it's called?
Yeah.
Can we do it?
That would be it.
Let's do it.
The petitions, the change.org petitions.
Otherwise, I no longer see a reason to go to my local library. You know, let's just turn it into one of them 7-Elevens I've heard so many good things about.
Mm-hmm. Let's go into a
Randy, you're
comment
so
here.
sleepy.
That comment, like you said it, and then it took me a second to realize like that it was a joke, and then I thought it was funny, and it was like a delayed laugh.
Oh man, it's
I just
okay.
thought you're being. I'm just used to you saying stuff sometimes, and I can just kind of tune it out because I know it's just like some kind of craziness. But then I like realized what you were saying, and I was like, oh, that's actually funny. But it took me a minute.
I'm gonna be honest. I didn't like anything that Gampaw just said to me. It came off disrespectful and flippant in a situation in which clearly I'm the one bringing the charisma and energy tonight, and I don't think he should be trying to drag me down.
I should not have taken that nap before the podcast. Well, I didn't mean to take a nap. I fell asleep.
It's okay, man. We're gonna get you there. So you ready for?
And my internet is also sleepy. Yeah.
Your internet is definitely sleepy. So, but let's keep trudging forward. So we got a comment here from Minecraft P, who said, "What's with these stupid engagement farming questions, lol? Should people be allowed access to clean drinking water?" And I have a response for this, Randy. I mean, I'm gonna let you say your piece, but I would just like to say, worked.
No, it actually didn't. This wasn't supposed to be engagement farming, but okay.
I know that, Randy. I was just joking. I was just playing into the joke. I know it's not meant to be engagement farming.
It's a genuine question. Obviously, most people think you should be able to, but here's the thing. The thing is it is currently against the law. It would break copyright law for libraries to be able to access digital access to these games.
Yeah.
Because they just can't license them out that way. You'd have to break copyright law to do it. So the question is like, should the law be changed? And okay, most people are saying yes, but I don't know that, if every single person who voted in this really went into the details on what it would take to do this and like the rights holders behind these games, they certainly aren't going to agree. And a person who's made and delivered a game may feel very different about it than someone who is just on the sidelines enjoying the games or wanting to play them for free. It's like,
right.
There's more nuance to this than just asking, should people be allowed to have access to clean drinking water? It's just not that, cut and dry.
Yes, I agree. And I think we also know it's not quite that serious. Which I think, I'm going to be honest with you, I think Minecraft P might be in on that joke. I think Minecraft realizes that, there's some humor to the comparison to being able to play Dirt 3 for the rest of your life or
right.
or die of dehydration. It's just not the same thing. I think Minecraft P knows that. I think we're all on the same side here.
Also, Minecraft P, I want to compliment you on your cute little bird avatar because I do love birds. Yeah, it's a little bird.
It is a little bird.
It's the underside. The bird's looking up. So cute.
It is. All right, Randy. You ready for the next comment here from our buddy?
Yeah.
All right. Well, this next one comes to us from a longtime friend of the channel, Luke Mayhew, who said, video games should become public domain after 70 years like print media. You don't get free access to someone else's labor until then. What do we think about that?
So, I mean, like, this is interesting. And I think video games, should, not only I think they should, I think they will be public domain after a certain amount of time. I'm pretty positive. Mm-hmm. Like, movies, print things, like they all have public domain times. I don't know if it's based on like 70 years or if it's something a little more complicated, like after the death of the author or creator, which I don't know how that works for video games. I don't know.
Seriously.
And then, because there's some people that work on them.
When Miyamoto finally passes away, like the entire Nintendo catalog just opens up.
Yeah. It's like from that point and then so many years after that, I really don't know. Public domain is weird. And I think it does vary depending on what specific type of media we're talking about. Mm-hmm. But like right now, the public domain laws are it takes a long time. We're talking, I mean, even in this situation, I don't even know 70 years. Let's just use it as an example. 70 years after a video game comes out is way too long, in my mind, for something to wait to be able to access it for free.
Yeah. Yeah. In about, I don't know, 60 years, I'm not going to want to play a Dirt 3. I'm going to be playing Dirt. I'm going to be playing Dirt 23, Yeah, no, I agree. That's way too long.
It's way too long. But I mean, I get the ideas like, hey, there's public domain laws. There's
Just
like
follow them.
things they go, yeah, just like follow them. But I
Hmm.
do feel like video games are different. I mean, same thing with like movies and stuff. But the thing is, there's an easy way to keep movies going because they're just like a file that you can access and you can pay a small fee to have access to it forever. Video games are different because they're tied down to a specific console.
Right.
You can't just take Silent Hill for the PlayStation and then download it on your Xbox and play it. Like maybe you can, but you can't play that original version, because it's tied to a console.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that would be, and for that reason, that's why that would be too long because we're not going to have those, potentially like that, or they're going to be
Yeah.
exceedingly rare anyway. So,
If they work at all, if any of them
right,
work.
if they work at all, yeah, exactly. I mean, in 70 years, the amount of working GameCubes in the world is going to be significantly less than it even is now, and
Yeah,
it's
'cause if you
already
just let
pretty
them
low.
go, they're not going to work. Yeah, they're already pretty low. Exactly.
Yeah. So,
You're
it,
100%
that,
right.
they probably should have its own niche case, when it comes to public domain law.
And I'm sure these libraries, if they were able to do this, it would be through emulation of some sort.
Yeah,
You'd have
definitely.
access through them through some sort of emulation, and you'd play, remotely on your computer. And then I get like the people who, I get that the game holders, they don't want this
Right.
because they want to be able to say, that game that's out of print that we're not making right now that you can't buy anywhere, we could re-release that. We could remaster it. If people really want it, we could put it out again and we could make some serious money with it. It just, I don't know. It's something about it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I fall on that either. Now, I mean, it is a little bit of a unique situation, I guess. Speaking of unique situation, we got a live comment here from Plague Doctor, who said, "Ill take. I want to be old and decrepit playing Dirt 3 on my deathbed." And now I
Hey,
think I do too.
yeah, you're not gonna be playing Dirt 23. You're still gonna be playing Dirt 3.
Dirt 3 for Dale.
Hey,
All right, we got one more comment here from our buddy Morris Dennison. Randy, hit us with Morris's
yeah.
comment.
Old Morris back again, who says, if the game hasn't been sold in over 10 years by any official sources, it should be free. Only reason copyright is the way it is because of Walt Disney World and Mickey Mouse. And you know what, Morris? 10 years feels a lot better than 70. That's for dang sure.
Yeah, as a game fan, yes, it certainly does. And I guess based on this wording of the law, every game would be available to play unless it's a Disney game or Kingdom Hearts.
But oh, why is that?
Oh, just because Morris is saying that copyright is so long because of Mickey Mouse.
Oh, because of Mickey Mouse. Yeah, yeah.
So
I
I'm
mean,
just
I know
saying, every
Disney
game
has.
would be available except a game that has Mickey in it.
You're right. No, I think if there was a law that said if your game isn't sold in any official source for 10 years, it becomes free, it becomes like public domain. What would happen would be that
Yeah,
publishers of these games, if they didn't want it to get lapsed into being free, they would have to re-release it. They would have to have a way of selling it,
yeah,
which would also just solve the problem. I mean, it'd be expensive. It might be more expensive that way, but at least you'd have official means to buy and play any game that a publisher or developer felt was worthy of keeping in the public eye and keeping available to sell.
You know what that sounds like, Randy? That sounds like it would stop piracy.
I think so.
I think it
I
would
think
too.
it would.
That's what is it Gabe? Gabe, whatever his last
Gabe
name
Newell?
is. Yeah, from Steam, who said, if you want to stop piracy, just sell the games.
It's a crazy concept, isn't it? And if you're not going to sell the games, well, they should be free. I like Morris's idea here.
I do too.
Because I really do think like, if you made a law like this and said, 10 years, that's a pretty long life for most video games. There are definitely some exceptions, but the thing is, it's all about like, is it not available to be, if it's not sold anywhere anymore? Like
Right.
that's the problem, is these out of print games that you just don't have access to.
Mm-hmm.
There's just no options besides buying a retro console from somebody that's secondhand that may or may not work properly, buying a secondhand old copy of the game that may or may not work properly, and trying to play it that way. Other than that, there's just no official way to buy and play so many of these games.
Yeah, that might also fix the ridiculous prices on some retro games too, or at least bring it way down.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
absolutely would, because if the moment a game is available, it gets re-released, and like say a game comes to NSO for the first time, and now it's not such, like we saw it happen with Paper Mario for N64. The moment that game was available to be played, prices went down.
Yep, and
Because-
10,000 Year Door, the remake.
1,000 Year Door or 10,000. We can make it 10,000 if we want.
I guess I had an extra 9,000 doors. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you didn't add 9,000 doors. You added 9,000 years to the door.
9,000 year doors.
But yeah, I mean, like it happens. I think it would help with retro game prices. One, the companies would keep making money, and then if they didn't care about the game, well, they don't care about the game. It's free anyway.
Right. And at this
Who'd have
point,
thought that Morris would be solving all the problems?
we'd be able to play Chrono Trigger legally.
Yeah, because it hasn't been officially re-released or sold, right?
No, I don't
Maybe-
think so. Well, I bet, it's on mobile. It's on mobile.
It's on mobile. See, and that's the thing. They would do stuff like this.
Yeah.
It would be available. But here's the thing. At least if it's available somewhere, it's available somewhere.
True. Okay,
I
Randy,
think it would solve a lot of problems.
you got anything else about your local library?
No, I want Morris's solution here. This is what I want to happen. Or I want libraries to be able to have remote access to video games, because the problem we get in physical games is you still have to have the console.
Mm-hmm.
I think these are works of art that should be preserved. I think they should be easily accessible. I need this to happen.
What if
something to happen?
What if they gave every library in the country, in the world, nay, the universe, a handful of really stout gaming PCs, and they hosted emulation of every one of these games, and you just clouded into one of those?
It would be something like that.
Yeah.
Clouding into Jupiter.
I would like to live in that world.
Me too. And it would cut back. If you could do that, I would choose to do that 10 times out of 10 over downloading a ROM and playing the game, through emulation.
I would too. I would do it 9 out of 10 times, like Randy said.
All
Okay.
right.
Well, Randy,
guys,
we do a bonus episode.
Yeah.
Oh, you
did.
wanted to completely switch.
I wanted to
Okay,
completely
okay.
switch. I thought that's
Sorry.
what we were doing here.
Yeah, no, sorry. I thought we were back on
We-
track. And nobody knows what the hell we're talking about. Randy, go ahead.
No, in the outline, it says that Daniel says this part. No, we swapped today. So basically, guys, look, thank you guys for hanging out and watching the podcast. Or if you're listening to the podcast, however you're enjoying the podcast, thank you. But look, if you want more, there is more. We film a bonus episode every week, and it is available for YouTube members. So if you check out the join button on YouTube, you can gain access to that. It's a way of supporting the podcast, showing us love, but also us giving you something back in return. This week on the bonus episode, we're talking about the Pokemon TCG trading card game, the Pocket one, the mobile game. Daniel's been playing it. So many people have been playing it in our Discord server. So I'm excited to find out more about that. And Daniel, I'm sure, has a lot to tell me about that.
I have all sorts of things to tell you, but not before we give a nice big shout out to those who are already YouTube members. So Heck, Landon, Guy, and Kit, thank you guys so much. And we're going to tell you all about TCG Pocket. Okay. 3 out of the, actually, I don't know about Landon and Guy, but I know that Kit and Heck are not only playing TCG Pocket, but we're already friends in the app. Okay. It's a big deal.
It's a big deal. All right, y'all. So we'll see you next time. Until then, I'm Randy,
And I'm Daniel.
and this has been Gaming Gig.
Peace out.